Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. It's Tuesday, April 29th. I'm Jonathan Linden. Coming up, Catholics around the world are in a period of mourning.
He had an unwavering spirit of openness and welcoming that will remain forever impactful on our church, his welcoming spirit.
How the death of Pope Francis is being felt in the Valley. That conversation in just a few minutes, but first, these news headlines. The Trump administration is making big cuts to AmeriCorps staff and volunteers. Emma Sweeney lives in Sacramento. She volunteered planting trees and supporting a food bank with AmeriCorps and then worked with the organization. She took a federal buyout expecting to keep her job until September, but
I was put on admin leave roughly a week and a half ago, and I think now I'm kind of just figuring out what to do.
The same happened to most of her 650 colleagues nationwide after the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, made cuts, according to the Washington Post. California Volunteers is part of the governor's office and administers the state's AmeriCorps programs. A spokesperson says it received a new notice on Friday from the federal government that AmeriCorps grants for the current year would be cut. America's Service Commissions, which advocates for AmeriCorps volunteers, estimates that it will prematurely end the service of about 32,000 members. Governor Gavin Newsom announced earlier this month that California will sue the Trump administration over the cuts. A federal contract was abruptly canceled in Kings County, leaving $2.7 million unspent. The money was part of a pandemic-related contract between the county health department and the organization Heluna Health. But last year, the federal government found Heluna Health may have misused millions of dollars in COVID-19 relief funds. As a result of the contract termination, Kings County officials report that some health programs may end, but no staff positions should be lost. We've learned a Visalia police captain turned herself into authorities last week after being charged with embezzlement. Luma Fahum is being charged with 5 felony counts of grand theft. The Tulare County District Attorney's Office alleges she stole nearly $50,000 from her department. Fahum is out of custody on a $100,000 bond. She is due in court in May and could face up to 3 years in jail. A Tulare County middle schooler took home top honors at the state spelling bee. KVPR's Carrie Klein reports he's now headed to the National Spelling Bee for the 3rd time.
Sarvanya Kadam was crowned junior high champion at the California State Spelling Bee this past weekend. He's an 8th grader at Oak Grove Elementary School in Visalia. He competed against 43 other middle schoolers at a hotel in Manteca. Words in the final round included Datus caseae, a family of herbs, and the mineral walpurgite. Kadam is now headed to the Scripps National Spelling Bee next month in Washington, D.C., where he also competed the last 2 years. As a 7th grader, he was eliminated on the word platanist. It's a species of river dolphin, by the way. Several other San Joaquin Valley students will join Kadam in Washington after winning county spelling bees. May their trips be propitious, perspicacious, and par excellence. All words in the Scripps Study Guide. For KVPR News, I'm Carrie Klein.
A gun violence prevention program in Fresno has abruptly been defunded. The Federal Department of Justice last week ended a $2 million grant for Advance Peace, according to the Fresno Bee. The program was housed at the Fresno Economic Opportunities Commission. A 2023 UC Berkeley report found that the program helped reduce gun violence in southwest Fresno by a third. Authors also estimated the program saved taxpayers tens of millions of dollars each year.
The annual KVPR wine tasting is coming Sunday, May 4th. Once again, we'll be gathering at the beautiful Lester Estate on the San Joaquin River for an afternoon of wine and beer sampling, delectable food, and great friends. There will be live music, a silent auction, and a raffle to win $1,500. Complimentary round-trip bus transportation, including lunch, will be provided in Bakersfield and Visalia. Tickets are now on sale at kvpr.org/wine.
And now to our main story. Catholics around the world celebrated Easter this month with some concern over the health of Pope Francis, the Church's leader. Pope Francis had spent nearly 40 days in the hospital, but on Easter Sunday, he managed to make a final public appearance. He emerged to offer what would be his final blessing to thousands who had gathered on St. Peter's Square in the Vatican.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, buona Pasqua.
Just hours after Easter, the Pope was dead at 88 years old. By many, Pope Francis was known as the, quote, people's pope due to his humility, and as well for addressing sensitive topics like the war in the Middle East and the Church's blessing of unmarried and same-sex couples. Felix Garcia is one of those who viewed the Pope's leadership in a positive way.
He has been the Pope of the masses, of all the people, especially the poor, and he will be greatly missed by everybody. And I hope that whoever will succeed him will basically follow his footsteps to spread the good news of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Garcia spoke with KVPR's Joshua Yeager just outside St. Philip the Apostle Church in Bakersfield, where a prayer service was held just after Pope Francis's death. Over the weekend, Pope Francis was laid to rest. The song you're hearing now was performed as the casket of the Pope was brought outside to St. Peter's Square in front of tens of thousands. But now attention is turning to what's next. The question is now, who will be the next pope to lead the Church, and how are Catholics around the world reflecting on this moment? For some of that, we spoke with Chandler Marquez. He's a spokesperson for the Catholic Diocese of Fresno. The diocese oversees just over 1 million Catholics in Central California. Marquez spoke with our host, Elizabeth Arkalian, and starts by discussing how Catholics in the Valley are responding to Pope Francis's death.
There's been a huge response. People are obviously sad and mourning, and I was talking to a few priests and asking them how they felt about Pope Francis's passing. And I thought it was interesting, 2 reactions. The first one was, one priest expressed that he felt like an orphan. And the other priest had a similar sentiment, but was talking about how immediately he thought about how he'll preach moving forward, because he's a priest in his 20s, and he pulled so much inspiration from Pope Francis weekly. And so that was his first thought, like, where am I going to get that inspiration from? And there's no more Pope Francis to write these beautiful, reflections weekly.
Yeah, and I would think just also, symbolically, who he was filling sort of that role probably was comforting to a lot of people, because he was so accepting. Or what was sort of his tone versus maybe other popes that have held that role?
Yeah, he had an unwavering spirit of openness and welcoming. And that will remain forever impactful on our church, his welcoming spirit.
Now, he was the first pope from Latin America, I believe, and we have a lot of folks in our area from Latin America. How did that sort of influence Catholics in the area? A lot, right? The fact that he's from the Americas, the first pope from the Americas, he's relatable on a lot of levels. Culturally, obviously, he was more relatable than past popes. But just in an overall sense, too, he was a pope of the people, He was a big soccer fan. He liked to talk about things that people like and do in everyday life, and I think that just made him so relatable. So for a diocese, what's your role in helping church members sort of stay informed or up to date on any sort of rituals that follow a pope's death?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, we mourn the pope, but there's nothing super significant that's out of the ordinary that people will notice here within the Diocese of Fresno. So we honor the pope by having a picture of him at each one of our parishes. There's some sort of memorial of the pope at every site within the diocese. And then various parishes are celebrating in their own ways, rosaries, prayer services. Right now as a world, we're in the midst of 9 days of mourning or novena. So globally, I think we're all in this together. And each parish will look different as to how they want to handle the mourning process.
Sure, and certainly captured the media as well. So I'm sure people can get a lot of information on what's happening out of the Vatican that way too.
Sure.
Many people would assign sort of a different meaning to the Pope's death, but speaking purely from a religious standpoint, how should we think about the significance of the Pope's passing?
Well, I think you go back to that one priest who feels like an orphan, right? I mean, he's the leader of our church, and right now that seat is vacant, and things are on a pause, and rightfully so. But yeah, right now we have no leader, and I think that's really felt right now throughout the whole Catholic Church. I can definitely speak within our diocese that's felt, but I think throughout the nation and globally that's really felt is that there's this huge void that will be filled, right?
Finally, as we await the conclave, we're anticipating a new pope being chosen. Could you share with us the qualities you think would be important for the next pope to bring as leader of the Catholic Church? And are these conversations that Catholics in the Valley are having among themselves at this point?
Yeah, this has been a point of topic that I've discussed numerous times since the Pope's passing. What I'm hearing and what I feel also is that we hope that the next Pope has that same welcoming spirit that Pope Francis had. I think what a lot of people are hopeful about is that this next Pope has had the opportunity to watch Pope Francis's papacy and to see how he was able to be so welcoming. And so I think the hopes is that the next Pope can take that and expand upon it and be really clear as to what that means for people in and outside of the church and how we welcome people and what that looks like on the front lines.
That was KVPR's Elizabeth Arkalian speaking with Chandler Marquez. He's a spokesperson for the Catholic Diocese of Fresno. Right now, Catholics around the world are waiting for an important ritual that follows a pope's death. Known as the conclave, the process is the most important for selecting a new pope to lead the church. Cardinals from around the world are in Rome preparing for that special meeting where they will hold secret votes to elect their new leader. The Vatican has issued a statement saying we should expect the official selection process to start on May 7th. And that's today's show. Before I go, we did want to take a moment to give a shout out to KVPR reporter Rachel Livedall. She was recently awarded a George F. Gruner Award. The Gruners recognize local journalism in the San Joaquin Valley. The award was given for Rachel's reporting on how universities are failing to return Native American artifacts back to local tribes, despite federal law. You can hear the audio version of that story on our December 12th episode. Today's episode was produced by me, Jonathan Linden, and KVPR, with support from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. You can always find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
This is Tanya Mosley, co-host of Fresh Air. You'll see your favorite actors, directors, and comedians on late-night TV shows or YouTube. But what you get with Fresh Air is a deep dive. Spend some quality time with people like Billie Eilish, Questlove, Ariana Grande, Stephen Colbert, and so many more. We ask questions you won't hear asked anywhere else. Listen to the Fresh Air podcast from NPR and WHYY.